yourself, or when you place a demand on yourself, or when organizations or people that rely on you, or people whose process relies on your output, when they place a demand on you, then oftentimes this demand that they place on you oftentimes needs you to constantly assess and reassess the status quo, right? As well as, trying to assess yourself, assessing your capabilities, assessing yourself, whether for a career shift or for a career change. And when any of this come, even looking at it holistically, you can understand that in order to profit from the dynamically evolving competitive marketplace that we find ourselves today, then it is essential for us as individuals to constantly assess our strength, to constantly assess our weaknesses, to constantly put our best foot forward. And for you basically to put your best foot forward, you have to get to understand that, in the current business environment, it is no longer companies competing for talents at all. Rather, currently what you have is about talents competing against talents for better positioning. So which means that at the end of the day, it's about me and you, individuals, the over 4 billion or 5 billion population across the globe competing for each other, this has basically been further enhanced by the broken barriers to talent to talent access globally. Because when you look at it vividly, years back to when there's an opportunity, what happens is that they will put it in the dailies, and it's only when you have access to the dailies that you can actually gain access to such opportunities, or where you have someone within that system. That reminds me of years back, a friend of mine was sharing with me how during his service year, there was an opportunity in one of the multinationals, Coca-Cola to be precise. And, so he said that, so the dad had to send the sister to Akure, where he was serving. So he was living in Lagos, but was serving in Akure. So the dad had to send the sister to Akure to give him the daily so that he could apply for that vacancy in Coca-Cola at that time. Now, which means, funny enough, at the time by the time the day the sister was going to Akure was the day he came to Lagos. Now, you understand with me that such things cannot happen in the current business environment. Talents are everywhere. You can be in Nigeria and recruit someone who is in Australia. You can be in Australia and recruit someone who is in Nigeria. So which means that the access to talent, the barrier has been broken. And since the barrier has been broken, it means that you have more competition for your role. You have more competition for what you do. And so there's a need for you to constantly assess yourself and be sure that you are putting your best foot forward. So basically, you can use SWOT analysis as a tool for you to assess your competitiveness as well as your personal growth in your quest to be more, to do more, and to achieve more. So basically, the whole essence is, okay, how do I do more with less? How do I be more in terms of my capacity? And using that, how do I achieve more? And so looking at it, what exactly is the key to career growth? And looking at it and saying what exactly is the key to career growth? Basically, the key to career growth for me, I always tell people, there are two aspects involved. And those two aspects basically has to do with you either trying to upskill yourself or reskilling yourself. But of course, some of us have heard about, okay, you're upskilling, you are reskilling and the likes like that. But basically what you're doing, so when you're assessing your competitiveness, when you're assessing your competitive advantage, or when you're trying to move forward in your career, one of the things you have to understand is that irrespective, you have to keep moving, whether you are moving sideways or you are moving upward. So basically, when you look at it in your career, so there are just two options for you. The number one option for you is either to increase your cross-functionality. So the first option is, okay, how can I increase my cross-functionality? So that means, how do I move probably horizontally, right? How do I move horizontally? So you're either moving horizontally or you are moving vertically. Now, if you are moving vertically, it means you are at a point in your career. So it means if you are at the early stage of your career, what you should be talking about is more of a vertical movement, which is trying to own your skill. How do you own your skill? How do you achieve more? How do you get to the depth? How do you become an expert in your field? Now, you should understand the fact that even in everybody's career, there is a point you will get to that just being an expert alone can be dangerous. So you can't just remain a specialist, right? So rather than you remaining a specialist, you need to also work towards your cross-functionality, and that is your horizontal movement, which is what are the other things? So what and what can I do again? So as you are moving vertically, you have to also ensure you are moving what horizontally, because specialism can be dangerous. It can also bring early boredom into your career. You can't just be a specialist on the career and be there 10 years, 15 years. It gets to a time you will be bored. It gets to a time dissatisfaction will start setting in. And the only way that you can limit that dissatisfaction is that what? You increase horizontally. That is, okay, so you're an accountant. What other areas should you be focusing on? So if you're an accountant, rather than just the usual financial accounting you're doing, oh, can I learn something on what? Analytics? Can I learn something on project management? What else can I do to increase my cross-functionality? Because it is only those who can do these things, that is, who can move horizontally and own their skill vertically, that can basically profit from the current business environment, that can basically profit from the current business. Because when you are able to do that, what happens is that what you naturally move up. Sorry, I don't know why this is not changing. So once you can improve horizontally and vertically, then there will definitely be an upward movement. The upward movement can only come if you have improved horizontally and vertically. And once you have done that, to achieve that vertical movement or to achieve that horizontal movement, then there's a need for you to be sure that you are actually doing the right thing. And how are you sure that you are doing the right thing? Through a constant reassessment, through a personal SWOT analysis from time to time, which is meant to be a continuous thing. You know, it's just like even in this diagram, in this image you have on your screen, you can see the image there. To move up, you first need to move sideways, right? So to move up, you move sideways, increase cross-functionally, then you move up, increase cross-functionally, then you also move up. So looking at that, then we get to understand that personal SWOT analysis is an individual assessment tool, right? It's an individual assessment tool that is needed, you know, when you want to understand where do you stand. So from time to time, you need to be able to look at yourself and say, okay, where do I stand with respect to my career? And where do I stand with respect to my life path? Now, you might have a different life path of what you want to achieve, but your career can help you achieve your life path. I hope you are getting me. So you understand that when you want to do SWOT analysis, there's no time that is too early and there's no time that is too late. In fact, it is something you are meant to be doing every time. It's something you are meant to be doing at the point where you are even coming up. This is what you should be doing every December of the year. When you say you're trying to come up with your projections for the new year, you are meant to be doing a SWOT analysis of yourself, because that's the only way you can come up with what exactly you should be doing next. So it can help you to determine your self-improvement chances, your educational choices, your career path, you know, your career growth, and the likes like that. So of course, so coming to SWOT analysis, of course, I assume many of us should be aware that this has to do with analyzing your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Understanding that the strengths and weaknesses are internal factors. So they are things under your control. They are things under your control. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Now, you need to consider the external factors. Now, these external factors are not under your control, but you cannot say that, oh, because they are not under my control, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's just leave it to God. What would be, would be. See, what would be, would not be. What would not be if you fail to do something about it. So what would be would only be if you decide to take action, if you decide to maximize your strength, to take advantage of the opportunities out there, if you decide to use your strength to be able to ward off those threats, right? So when you are considering your SWOT analysis, you have to come with the aspect of what? Your internal factors, which are things under your control, your strengths and weaknesses, as well as your opportunities and what threats. And understand that we don't want to go with the concept of, oh, what would be, would be. What would be, would not be. It's a way of passive acceptance. What you have to do is active acceptance. And active acceptance comes with what? Action. So, looking at that, so it means the first thing you would want to come about is your strength. And you know, oftentimes I've seen people struggle with this. Okay, so what exactly would I call my strength? How would I assess it? And when you're looking at your strength, basically as a professional, remember whatever we're discussing now is you as a person, you as an individual, right? You will be assessing your strength. What are you versed in? What expertise do you have? What are your skills? What do you enjoy doing? What are the unique resources you can draw on? It could be your networks and the likes. What qualifications do you have? What technology can you use? What community do you belong to? What industry do you operate in? Because the industry you operate in is assumed that you understand that industry, and that becomes a leverage for you. And what skill do you have that is transferable? So you need to look at it from those angles. Okay, what skill do I have that is transferable? When you are at a crossroads in your career, when you're at a point where you're trying to assess, okay, what exactly should I be doing? How do I, get better? Then, okay, what technology? What are your qualifications? What unique resources can you draw on? What do others see as your strengths? What technology can you use? What community do you belong to? Now, I'm still going to come back to this. Once you have assessed your strength, then now there's a key thing in that strength, which is what do others see as your strength? Now, we have to be careful with that also. So the idea is that you can't see yourself, you can't see all of yourself. So people see some aspect of you that you don't see. People see some aspect of you that you don't see. Like earlier today, I was telling my colleague that, some years back, he told me I would be a good teacher. That look at me now, I'm a teacher. But I never agreed that I would be a teacher. I told her, no, I'm not. What kind of teacher are you talking about? Whether you like it or not. What am I doing now? Right? So people see some aspect of you that you don't see. However, you don't also want to use their judgment of you to cause a mental blockage for you. So you listen and take in the advice, but not using, at the end of the day, the decision on what to do and what not to do would be on you, because you are the one that owns the steering for your journey, right? So take note. So what I'm saying there is you take input from others, but that should not take hold of your life. Then the next thing is your weaknesses. We all have what? Weaknesses. Whether you feel you are this, that, we all have weaknesses. And your weaknesses in this case, in terms of you as a professional person, is what are the barriers that stops you from performing at the optimum level? What barriers stops you from performing at the optimum level? What are your bad habits? What tasks do you usually avoid? Or what tasks don't you feel confident doing? There are some tasks you don't feel confident doing. What will the people around you see as your weakness? Again, because they see you every day, they might be able to see some things you don't see. Now, are you completely confident in your education? So the point is, when you're answering all these questions, whether anyone you answer yes to, it means you have to now list it out. If you're saying, okay, are you completely confident in your education? If no, then what is the problem? What are you not confident about? Then what are your negative work habits? For example, maybe you're often late, or you're often disorganized, or you have a short temper, or you are poor at handling stress. Another trait weakness could be, do you have personality traits that hold you back in your field? Do you have personality traits that hold you back? For example, if you're a manager and there's a need for you to constantly do presentations and you have that fear of public speaking, the fear of public speaking would be what? A weakness for you. So you need to identify those things. there's a need for you to identify what those personality traits that hold you back as a professional. There's a need for you to identify those negative work habits. There's a need for you to also ask people around you, because you cannot see yourself and no one is an island of knowledge. There's a need for you to also what? Identify your bad habits. Once you have done that, one of the most important aspects of this are the opportunities. See, there are opportunities out there. So what are the opportunities out there? Not just in your industry. What are the opportunities in your industry, and what are the opportunities outside of your industries? Because opportunities are presented, opportunities are bound within the environment which we operate. Opportunities may even come from the market, from competition. In terms of competition now, do you know your competitors in this case are your peers? Those people you are working with are your colleagues. They are the competitors. Technology. So in terms of that, then you need to be able to answer the following question. Okay, what are the significant changes in the industry? So as a professional, you have to constantly analyze your industry. What are the changes happening? Because for you to remain in that industry, then you need to keep yourself abreast of the changes in your industry. Is your industry being overtaken by automation? Then you need to know what are the new ways of doing business in your industry that you can take advantage of. Because for you to keep yourself relevant, you cannot, no organization would rely on the skill you used for them 5 years ago. You know, sometimes you find a situation whereby, you know, some people, they are always in this situation where, you know, they say, I remember when we were starting the company, they were always coming to us. Now the company has grown, they don't see us again. Yes, they won't see you again because you are still relying on the skill 5 years ago. The skill they saw in you 5 years ago is not useful for them today. So it means to constantly remain relevant, you have to constantly improve yourself. You have to constantly be on top of your game. You have to constantly be on top of the significant changes in your industry or in whatever industry you are thinking of transitioning to. You have to understand the ways of doing business in that industry. You have to understand the growing trend in your industry. You have to understand the new skills that are required in your industry. You know, someone says, it's just my job. I've done my own part. You know, let God do the rest. Okay, you have to know what are the new skills required in your industry, because those are the opportunities. You have to also get into research to understand what industry or skills are projected to remain relevant. So if I ask you now that, oh, in the next 5 years, what skills do you think would remain relevant? You have to be able to know, okay, what are the growing opportunities? What skills do you expect that, okay, would always remain what? Relevant. 5 years from today, 10 years from today. What are the current top 10 skills globally? Because those are the opportunities you are trying to position yourself for. Right? So, and looking at that, you have to, okay, so when you have understood the top, the industry skills, the trends in your industry, the top 10 skills globally, then there's a need for you. There's a need for you now to be able to now say, okay, out of all these skills, out of all these 5 opportunities, out of all these 5 growing industries or fields, out of all these top 10 skills globally, which one interests you? Which one would you like to tap in? Then what are the requirements of these your areas of interest? What are the requirements of these your what areas of what interest? You have to know it. So this is also what very, very key. Doing this opportunity is very, very key because you need to assess the opportunities. It's about your environment. It's about doing what? Environmental scanning. Once you have done that, then the next you would want to do, now in terms of opportunity, so what I did here was to come up with like, so this list is not exhaustive. So what I've tried to do is to come up with like, maybe top 10, not top 10, but that's 10 selected careers, 10 selected growing careers that are in demand or that could always be in demand. You know, you have the aspect of, and what I've been able to do, so I'm just going to rephrase through this. I'm not going to go in them in detail. I'm just trying to set your sight on something. Now, you see that having come up with the selected career, What I've come up with is the technical aspect. What does it involve technically? Now, understand something. When you are looking at what does it involve technically, you have to understand the soft skill involved. It's like for a marketer. Yes, marketing is to sell. You understand maybe whether it's the ad marketing or soft marketing or whatever, or cold calls. But you can be good technically. If your soft skill is lacking, you will still fail on the job. Not because you are not good. Because if a job requires you to have that communication skill, to have that interpersonal skill, to have that emotional intelligence, and you don't have it, the person will still fail. So it's not so oftentimes it's not about I want to do this. I think the opportunity is business analysis, so I need to learn how to do need assessment. I need to learn how to do process management. No, what are the soft skills that accompanies it that you also need? So what we've done is, okay, the technical aspect, the required soft skill, and when you are assessing this technical aspect and required soft skills, as much as possible, where any of these, where there is a certification involved, take it. See, I keep saying it, certifications validate your experience. Certifications validate your knowledge. So, for example, you find for product management, the product management technical aspect has to do with what? Product development using waterfall predictive method. So you have to now look. So it means when you are looking at this, by the time you are assessing these opportunities, it might also help you to go back to assess your strength again. Because if you are someone that knows that, okay, I understand and I can manage deliverables using predictive or waterfall method, or I know about product launch, I know about marketing, I know about data analysis and visualization. Now it means you already identify a strength, right, from that opportunity. So you go and update your strength list, and if you don't have it, then it becomes what? A weakness for you. I hope you are following me. So if you don't have it, it becomes what? A weakness for you. So then you look, okay, what are the soft skills required? So it means that if you are not looking at it as yourself, like, okay, I want to go into product management, then you'll be looking at, okay, am I empathetic? As in, do you have empathy? Do you have that collaboration and consensus building skill? Or you are someone that always likes to say, okay, it's my way or no way? Because if you are someone that relies on my way or no way, then there's a need for you to first work on that aspect before you can do this kind of role. Because if not, you will know design thinking, you will know about product launch, but because you lack that collaboration and consensus building skill, you will still fail on that role. So likewise, looking at things like marketing, business analysis, one thing we have to understand, like I tell people, marketing is something that cannot fade. No matter the automation, you will still need marketing. Because even after your automation will be marketing. So it's something that cannot fade. But beyond saying, oh, I understand search engine optimization, customer relationship, search engine marketing, affiliate marketing, video marketing, copywriting, content management, beyond those things, do you have emotional intelligence? Do you have a knowledge of yourself and of others? Are you persuasive enough? Because if you know this technical thing and without this soft skill, it's still failure. Likewise, web development. You have to be able to think deep. You find some people who feel thinking deep and taking time, thinking deep is wasting time. If you feel thinking deep is wasting time, then you might not be able to do some of those roles because you are going to turn out a lot of things that requires rework. Because for some of these things, you find that the bulk of the job is done on top of the head. Right? So these are just some of the things I've tried to come up with. Because of time, I might not go through everything, but I guess we understand what I'm saying. So these are just examples. Okay, these are opportunities. Product management is increasing and it keeps increasing as long as you have new solutions and deliverables turning out. Business analysis, data analytics, information security, cyber security, cloud computing, marketing, HR. No matter the automation, HR will still be needed because you cannot manage physical machine the way you manage people. Project management, web development, your full stack development, front end, back end, and every of those things would always be in demand. So you need to look at, okay, what are the technical angle and what are the required soft skills? What certification can I back it up with? And you have to also understand that today's kind of roles, today's kind of opportunities, right, requires a lot of self-management. So the kind of environment we live in is an environment where what there's a lot of emphasis on what self-management. So people want to expect you to be able to manage yourself, because if you have to work from home, then you have to be self-managing. You have to be self-organizing. If you cannot self-manage yourself, then you cannot work from home. We have to always see you in the office and probably be what micromanaging you. So there's need for what self-management. And in terms of soft skills, about 5 soft skills keeps coming up for every role. Problem solving. Because for any role, as a professional, the major reason why you're on board is that organizations want you to solve problems for them. So you have to constantly build your what problem solving muscles. And that can only be done through what active listening. Right? So looking at that, so having to assess your strengths, weakness, opportunities, then the next is to assess your what? Your threats, is to assess the threats. Threats are what? Known elements that are potentially harmful to you. What are known elements that are potentially what? Harmful to you? What obstacles do you currently face at work? What are those complaints about your role, about your job that you are getting? Are any of your colleagues competing with you for projects or roles? Is your job, so if yes, what roles, what projects are they competing with you for? Is your job or the demand for the things you do, is it changing? Is your way of working changing? Does changing technology threaten your position or threaten your career? If yes, what aspect of it is being threatened? Could any of your weaknesses lead to what? Threats. Is your personality altering your career path? Are your peers doing better job than you do in the same position? If yes, then that's a threat. Then are there any skills that have that your peers have that you don't have? Are there any skills that your peers have that you don't have? Then your financial resource also. So when you have been able to answer those questions truthfully, when you have been able to answer those questions truthfully, when you have been able to look at it holistically, then the next is to look at what do I do about it? What is the way forward? And the first way forward is what? How do you use your strength? So now that you know your strengths and you know the opportunities, now remember I told you, once you do the opportunity, you can use that to go and update your strength list. Right? Just that there's no time, I will have used one of you as a case study. But I hope you are getting me. So it means you now look at, okay, how do I use my strength to take advantage of what? Opportunities. So it means that if I feel, okay, I as Niyi, I understand project management, I understand business analysis, and there are opportunities for business analysis, even though what I'm doing currently is that what I'm a learning and development consultant. So I'm a learning and development consultant, but there are opportunities growing for what? Project management, product management, and business analysis. And I have strength, I have certifications, I have qualifications, I have knowledge in those areas. So it is now the question of what? How do I use my strength to take advantage of what? Opportunities. So what you're going to be doing is what? Using your strength to take advantage of opportunities, which is now what? Putting yourself out there. Maybe finding similar networks, getting internship, packaging your profile, your CV. You know, I keep saying it for every professional. Sometimes we neglect our profile, we neglect our CV. See, and like I always say, the outward attracts, the inward retains. Right? The outward attracts, the inward retains. So you can see someone, yes, they will see you. You know, it's just like, it's not everybody you meet that you become friends with, because the outward attracts, the inward retains. So as a professional, the first thing they say about you is your LinkedIn profile. The first thing they say about you is your CV. before they even get to meet you. So it means you have to first start. So your profile, your CV must speak those strengths, so that when someone sees it, you understand, okay, this person understands this thing. So like in my classes, I normally tell people, maybe they finish a course, they just go and write in their CV, training and certification, project management, business analysis, data analytics. When you look at their role, when you look at what the CV is speaking, it's not speaking anything project. I'm not seeing those terms there. And if I'm not seeing it, then I assume you don't have your strength there. It means you are just writing it there, because you cannot tell me you have this and your CV is talking about operation management. So it's about how do you use your strength to take advantage of what? Opportunities. And remember I said the outward attracts, the inward retains. Is when your profile and everything is attractive. That's when you can be called upon. And whoever they meet, 5 people can go for interview. It's not like the 5 of them are the best in the industry, but it is the people they have, and they will pick one of them. So you can be better than that person. You can be better than that person, but it is who we see that we will interview. And so it is now the inward that will now determine whether, okay, this person knows this thing. So the question will be, how do you use your strength to take advantage of what? Opportunities. I hope we take note. Once you have decided on how to use your strength to take advantage of opportunity, remember the goal is not about doing this thing. The goal, the work done, the value is in what? Action. The value is in action. The value is in doing something about it. Right? The value is in doing something about what? About it. Now that you have been able to ascertain how to use your strength to take advantage of opportunity, then the next thing is what? How do you use your strength to ward off threats? Right? You have areas you are good in. Your colleagues have areas that are better than you. So how do you use your strength to overshadow those what? Those threats. Part of using your strength to ward off threats could be you have a good interpersonal skills, you have a good communication skill. So it means you can always approach these people, work with them closely, so that you can learn from them, and that reduces your gap. Because this is just about gap analysis. So that reduces your gap. Now, to another important angle, so remember this strength to opportunities. How do you use your strength to ward off opportunities? So you use your strength to ward off opportunities by putting your best foot out there. You use your strength to ward off what? Threats. You use your strength to ward off threats. Someone is raising up, and we'll take questions almost at the end. I'm almost done. Or you type in your question to the chat room, please. So then use your strength to ward off what? Threats. It's just like organizations. You have organizations, what do? They feel this new company, this new fintech is a threat to us. They buy it off. They either buy it off or sometimes they buy it off to kill it. They buy it off. So how do you use the strength you have to buy off those people who are threatening your position? And another one is what? How do you now for opportunities and weakness? This is always very important to me, because I always say, once you identify your opportunities and you identify your weakness, opportunities would help you identify areas of weakness you need to improve. Because whether we like it or not, we all have our weaknesses. And because we all have our weaknesses, you need to know which area of your weakness you need to improve. So it means if I come up with, okay, what are the top 5 growing skills? Now, I look at the top 5 growing skills and I look at what aspect of my weaknesses is which of my weaknesses limits my ability to take advantage of any of those top 5 growing skills. It means if I can identify that, then the next thing is what? How do I use opportunities to prioritize areas of weaknesses I need to improve? So you use opportunities to prioritize areas of weaknesses you need to improve, so that you are doing the right thing at the right time. So you are not improving a skill that is already fading off. So you're not what? Improving a skill that is already fading off, or that will not be relevant 2 years from now. So you use opportunities to prioritize areas of weaknesses that you need to improve. And your weakness to threat, the goal here is there are 2 options to it. It's either you face it and fight your fears, or you get out of it. It's either you face it and fight your fears, You facing it and fighting your fears means now using your strength to find how you can increase your weakness, and then that can become a strength, and then you can ward off the threat. Or you get out of that field. Because if you are that weak and you have a lot of people that that you feel do it better and you cannot improve yourself, then you find something else doing that you can leverage on. Please, I hope you're getting me. And if it's also an area you are weak, if it's an area you are weak, it's like maybe, for example, manual collation of financial reports. The threat is that it is fading away. Now there are a lot of tools that people can use. There might not even be an accountant to generate some of those things. Now, would you not be saying you want to go and learn how to do it? You are weak in it, and it's also a threat because that side of business is fading. And because it is fading, then what do? You let it die off. You don't bother about it. They will be low on your priority list. So to round off, so the take home for us is what? The first thing you need to do from here is what? You ask yourself questions. Truthful what? Questions. Ask yourself what? Truthful questions. You have to, because people who know how to ask the right question, they always become what? Successful in their career. So you have to know how to ask what? The right question. You have to also be able to list all the answers. Then you ask others for their opinion and be open-minded. Because if you are also asking others for their opinion and you are being sentimental about it, then that means we're not ready to improve. Then you gather your answers. Once you gather your answers, you determine your solutions. Remember, you determine your solution, not allow others to determine your solution. You have to own the process. So you have to be the one to determine what? The solution. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you for the beautiful insights you've given us on how we can use SWOT analysis, to help improve and also develop our career journey. And they feel to rephrase some of the takeaways you shared with us, owning our process. We have to move away from waiting for companies or our organization to send us on training and certification process. This time around, to remain relevant in our career journey and also in the business environment, we have to take initiative on our own to improve areas of our weaknesses and our next opportunity around by going for training and certification on our own. No longer have to wait for companies or your organization to send you. If your organization is willing, fine. But if they are laid back in training you or sending you for certification programs, then it's high time you take that initiative to remain relevant and be progressive in the business environment. And just like Lee also shared, the business environment have moved away from an era whereby they compete against talent. So they compete to recruit talent. Now it's talent that's competing against talent. So to be that competitive talent, then we have a whole lot of initiatives we need to take on our own. And one of those initiatives now is what we've just had this afternoon on how we can deploy SWOT analysis for our career growth to remain a global talent, even though we are operating in a local space. So I would like to ask at this point, do we have any question? Let me check the chat room if there's any question.
I think Dikpo was raising up his hand at a point. Is Dikpo still there?
Okay, he can unmute himself if he still has a question to.
If you have a question, you can just raise up your hand. Then we'll try to answer.
So that it's 3:45 already, so that we can close at the nick of time we earlier stated. So please, Dikpo, do you still have a question you want to share with the house?
Any question?
Okay, I don't think it's maybe the raising up of an icon was just an accident, but okay, I don't think he has any question. But if he still has any question while we wrap up in the next 2-3 minutes, you can unmute
Okay,
yourself.
good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, good
Good afternoon, everybody. Speaking. Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? This is Dipo
Yes,
speaking.
we can.
Okay, yes.
Are we going to have this recording? I joined in very, very late, and I was having a lot of issues. That was why I raised my hand earlier.
Okay,
so we
no
can just
problem.
share the recording when compressed. I can go through it. Thank you.
You will, as long as you've registered to attend this webinar, the recording will be shared with everyone. Although a few minutes of the recording wasn't recorded, but a few minutes of the webinar wasn't recorded, but you still have a good grasp of what we have shared so far. So recording will be shared with everyone.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry for not taking protocol by raising hand before asking questions. So quick one. Okay, quick one. What do you say someone do in an organization where he is that before now it has been striving to pull yourself at the best top, trying to prove yourself, trying to put your best shots at all you do, giving it your best. But now, as we speak, currently now, what is obtainable is them looking for certification, people being certified in areas. And now, because you are less certified, which you are aiming at or which you are already doing, some opportunities are not being given to you because you are not certified. However, you are like the top head when it comes to decision making, when it comes to proactiveness, when it comes to thinking, proactive thinking and solving problems on the spot and everything. But yeah, that opportunity for you raising up in that your junior, because they have the certification and being certified, which you trained and everything. What do you ask such type of an individual to do? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I understand it perfectly.
Okay.
I understand it perfectly, Tokwe. I think within your question is the answer to your question, because what you just did is a perfect short case study of SWOT analysis. You know, like I always tell people that we have to constantly open more than our two eyes to even our inner eye to understand what is happening around us in our organization, in our industry. And I always tell people that if you are in an organization or industry you hope to spend a lot of time in, then you have to keep yourself abreast of development there. Now, this has happened because probably you have not kept yourself abreast of where the organization is heading to. Now, you have identified the opportunity. The opportunity is that there are roles. The requirement is that there is need for certification. The weakness is that you don't have the certification, even though you have the experience. You have the technical know-how. And believe you me, to be very frank with you, they will just keep using you as the journeyman. You know where they say journeyman? And you just be, getting things done. Whereas where you should to move higher might not happen. And the only way is to get certified, is to understand what certification do you need? What certification do you need? Like, let me share a short example. So we take our time. So it's like I have this friend that, so there was a time, he was like the health and safety manager officer for his organization. But he understands that to be the head of the HR unit, that he has a chance to be the head of the HR unit when the current HR leaves, because the HR was on contract. And he identified what should he do? He needs to have an MBA, he needs to probably get some certifications. And he got that, he got them nick in time just before the current, and developed good relationship with the outgoing director of HR. And what happened? Almost at the time he was finishing his MBA, the director of HR left. And today, since that time, I'm talking about more than 5 years now, he's still the head of HR. But that's something that wouldn't have happened if he has not done a quick assessment, a personal assessment of what he needs. What I see that you have done basically is a personal assessment. You have the decision, but you have not taken action, and you need to take action. You need to find the time to take action, because sometimes what we say is that there's no time to take action, but there's time to take action. So you have to find the time to take action, and that's just the simple truth. Because, I said at the beginning of this class, certifications validate your knowledge and can be the key to move ahead. I have purposely not talked about much of certifications today, so that you won't think that God's got to be talking about certification. I'm more or less focused on you, yourself, and you need to own your personal growth by yourself, just like Seun has emphasized. Dr. I hope that's clear.
Yes, thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
And if you need help on that, you can always reach out.
Okay. To add on just quickly to what you just said, certification has no age limit. You can be 60 and decide to be certified. You can be 15, 18 and decide to start your certification journey. So what really makes the difference is us taking action. And if you also know, nobody competes at the bottom. It's at the height that you begin to see competition, intensive competition. So how do we make sure we remain relevant and not get kicked out of the competition? And just like we've been saying, get the needed additional certification or qualification to remain relevant in your career journey. So I think it's good now.
I still have 2 people. I don't know if
call it a wrap. Okay, maybe quickly, maybe we'll take questions within the next 3 minutes. And Ni, you also help us answer the questions just within 2 minutes. Damilare, please, you can unmute yourself and shoot, please.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I just, Mr. Lee, so how can one actually address this? Currently, you are working somewhere, you have a skill, but you also look at another opportunity by the side. And for example, a database administrator, but also I'm looking at project management. I don't have experience. I've not done any official project management before or something, but now there's no experience, but I want to go for certification. How can I balance these two? Thank you.
Okay, so very briefly, for project management, like you said, that you mentioned, you see, for some of those certifications, especially if it has to do with a management-related certification, naturally, when you have the certification, the assumption is that you've had like a 2-3 years experience. A certification equates to like 2-3 years experience. That's number one thing you should know. Number two is, in moving ahead in that kind of scenario, what you need to be looking out for, it would not be the top jobs in project management. If you know, okay, you have not been in project management for long, you first get some, you don't go for those top jobs, maybe a job that's requiring maybe 10 years in project. It could be a project management officer. And from a project management officer, just in probably 6 months, 3 months, you change role, you keep moving, and then you grow from there. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Damilare.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
So I would like to.
Dipo, you're still raising up your hand. I hope it's the hand of
No. I guess it's the previous one. So okay. I would like to end by saying this: getting knowledge is good, but what we do with the knowledge is what makes the difference. So don't just absorb what you have gotten this afternoon. Please take action and let there be a difference between who you were yesterday and who you are going forward. Thank you, everyone.